course of action or appears not. Leave is granted. Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, the last two speakers from the government side have tried to minimise this issue. This is not a small issue, and it's not about a mistake by one manager inside ACC mistakenly sending information to another person. Let's start at the beginning. This is about ACC, one of the most important institutions in New Zealand, revered around the world because of what it does. It is absolutely essential to the health of our community, so that when people do have accidents and get injured, they can get quick recovery without having to worry and stress about it. But absolutely crucial to the good functioning of ACC and its relationship with the community and this country is the very high trust that is placed by people in it when they make a claim. We all do it, whether it's for a sprained thumb or whether it's for something more serious. We have to provide information to ACC through our medical advisors, through our doctors, but trusting ACC is absolutely essential. And that's what's at stake here. 6,752 claimants have had their information wrongly and mistakenly sent to a person who simply should not have it. The Minister is right, and I support her stance when she says that person has acted wrongly. She has. Let's put that aside for now. But let's also understand this. I, like no doubt many MPs, are getting information from people who have had their phone call, got their letter, and they are being told different information than appears in the report that went to the Minister last Friday. They are saying that it wasn't just their name, it wasn't just their number, it wasn't just the status of their review, but that other information has been disclosed as well. So we need to have that clarified. That's not a matter for the Privacy Commissioner. That's a matter for a proper independent inquiry into what has gone wrong. The other issue, and the very serious issue that lies at the heart of this, the privacy issues, is what has happened to those who have made sensitive claims. The 131 people, they make those claims because they are victims of sexual abuse. They make those claims because they suffer mental injury as a result. That's how serious those claims are. When I talk about the trust that people must place in ACC, there could not be people who need to place more trust, who we rely on to place the utmost trust in ACC than those who make sensitive claims to the Sensitive Claims Unit. And the ACC website says to those who make sensitive claims that your information will only be seen by the small number of people who work in the Sensitive Claims Unit and perhaps an independent assessor. But what we've seen in this case is that somebody outside the Sensitive Claims Unit has got access to that information. And in fact, the report to the Minister on Friday said it was a spreadsheet that was circulated to all ACC managers. Now, how many is that? How many hundreds of people are getting access to information that ACC says to those making sensitive claims that only a small number of people will see it? That's a crucial issue. Now, the Privacy Commissioner might deal with that, but he or she won't deal with the myriad of other issues that arise in this particular case. So what has happened? Now, I accept what the Minister, today's Minister, has said about, we know that the management of data today, there is so much of it, and it is easy to make a mistake. We know that. We understand that. But it's what happened here in this particular case that matters. There are real questions that need to be answered. Why was, looking at the disclosure in the first place, why was a person, a manager, in the recovered persons unit or whatever that one is called, why were they handling this spreadsheet and all of this information in the first place? Why did they have it? We know that that was disclosed in August 2011. Why was the sensitive claims information included in that spreadsheet? What is the assurance that has been given to those people now to give them some comfort and security? Then the next piece of information we know is that there was a meeting in December that involved two senior managers of ACC who say that they didn't know there had been a privacy breach up until that time, that there was Bronwyn Pullard, the person who had received the information and a long-time grievant about ACC, and the former National Party President Michelle Bogue, not well known in ACC circles as far as I'm concerned. I've done a bit of ACC advocacy work. I haven't seen Michelle Bogue's name on the list of advocates and others who have represented people in ACC. But how is it that in an ACC system where many people struggle to get a meeting with their case manager, that Bronwyn Pullard can get a meeting with two senior managers from ACC? That gap hasn't been filled. It's not, that question isn't answered in the report that went to the Minister on Friday, and we just don't know. But I smell a rat, and it's a big one and it's a stinky one. And we need to know, Mr Speaker, what is it that prompted ACC to send 2 senior managers to meet with Bronwyn Puller, an aggrieved claimant, and the former National Party President, Michelle Bogue. There is more to this than meets the eye, and we need to know what it is. The Privacy Commissioner won't answer that question, but we need to know what was really going on. What was discussed at that meeting? Because we're now getting conflicting information. The report to the Minister says one thing, Bronwyn Puller says another. We have the letter from Michelle Bogue, who remembers some things but not others. What happened at that meeting? That's not a matter for the Privacy Commissioner, but it would be a matter for a proper independent inquiry that should be taking place, that the Minister has it in her power to set up and get underway. Then we see that nothing happened for 3 months. A letter was written, that's right. A manager that was at the December meeting sent a letter, and nothing else happened in more than 3 months. This is the institution that we must trust so much, that every New Zealander, not just the 1.7 claimants each year, but that every New Zealander must trust. And here was a management of ACC that knew that there had been a breach of privacy. They say they didn't know the extent of it, but they knew there had been a breach of privacy, and very little was done. That's not good enough, and we need to know why not. Was it the presence of Michelle Bogue that made them afraid to take further action? Was it the fact that they knew, they would now have known that this woman, Bronwyn Puller, was a National Party activist? Is it because they would then have seen that there was a letter from the Minister, or then Minister Nick Smith, that they were too afraid to act, frozen in the headlights, because that's what happens. And that's why when ministers write letters on their letterhead, using their ministerial title, on behalf of individuals, going into the bureaucracy that they're part of, they know the effect that that is meant to have. It's meant to have a chilling effect. It's meant to make the senior officials freeze in the headlights. And I suspect that that's what's happened in this case. We need to know the answers, Mr Speaker, because we're not getting them. We didn't get them in the ministerial report on Friday. We haven't had them in the answers to Parliament today, and we are entitled to have them. For the confidence of all New Zealand in this most important of institutions. Then we go to the role of the former minister. Now, this current minister is clearly responsible, and I accept that she's not to blame. But the former minister is not just responsible, but he is to blame as well. What on earth was that minister doing? Using the full power of his office and his title to advocate for a single person within the department for which he was responsible. That is unheard of. Mr Speaker, that is unheard of. Not even Bob Semple went that far. That was a long time ago. But Nick Smith writes a letter, says in it, I'm not trying to influence ACC, but then puts the argument that is all about influencing the ACC decision. That's how disingenuous this minister was. It is such a flagrant breach of the minister's duties and responsibilities, of the standards of conduct we are entitled to expect of a minister, that minister must go. He must go from this cabinet. And if John Key is serious, and if he as a Prime Minister expects the nation to take him seriously and what he says about the conduct and the standard of conduct of ministers, then he must see to it that Nick Smith is sent out of cabinet, because we cannot trust him anymore. We cannot trust him not to abuse his position. We cannot trust him to use his office to curry favour with whatever National Party activist who's going to ask for it next. And what other favours has he given Bronwyn Puller? Who knows? That's not a matter for the Privacy Commissioner, but that is a matter for a proper inquiry that is about giving integrity back to this Cabinet, to this administration and to this Prime Minister. You don't start a letter off to whom it may concern and claim that it was addressed to the medical advisor. That was a letter intended to carry weight, intended to carry influence, intended to change the decision of the ACC that had been made, proper process and proper procedure. Mr Speaker, the Privacy Commissioner's inquiry is not enough. It is a good start for the privacy issues concerned, but it is not for how this happened. What was the environment that was happening here? What was the National Party involvement here? Because a lot of National Party personalities seem to have been tied up in it. So, sir, we need to know. We need to know about the conduct of Nick Smith. We need to know about the conduct of Michelle Bode. We need to know about the conduct of the director of ACC, who so far remains nameless, about what he knew and why he didn't disclose that to the Chief Executive or to anybody else.
The member's time has expired. Honourable Craig Foss, this is a 10-minute call.